Hey everybody! I do so very much love Saturdays. I get a lot done because I have the luxury of spending all day out in the garage working on the plane. Previously, I had let the rudder sit on the workbench for a couple days, and it was time to gently move it aside uh, so that I could work on step three, which was preparing the front spar doubler for use. And that means deburring. And you can see here I spent a lot of time deburring it because it seemed pretty rough. So I got in there and really cleaned it up as best I could. Next, it was time to final drill holes in the fabricated front spar attachment brackets that I had shaped out of angle aluminum. I didn't want to drill in the previous step, even though the instructions told you to, just because I wanted to make really sure that I knew how this was going to be used, and I kind of recommend you do the same thing. Once I got everything clear, got a clear notion of how it was going to be used, I started the measuring process. By the way, I can't recommend enough getting a ruler that has both 32nd and 64th marks. That made measuring this stuff really easy. And then you can see here, I'm drilling the footer and sending a text message, drilling the footer out for both of those brackets, and then drilling a single hole, which will end up being the top center hole that goes on the front spar doubler, and you'll see that in a second. In both cases, I intentionally drilled using a smaller drill bit and got the pieces out, put it on there, make sure I saw exactly where it was supposed to go, and then went back and re-drilled in the bigger holes. Cleated them onto the front spar doubler, and then you can see here in this picture, I've attached a piece of angle aluminum to the bottom there so that I have a really good idea of what it's supposed to look like, and so that those are not going to be moving. It's going to be solid. You can also see that each of the brackets are clecoed on with a single cleco through that top middle hole, and then behind that, and I didn't take a picture of the backside, but behind that there are 8 other holes that I'm going to be match drilling from the backside, and so you want to make sure that the feet are square on those angles down there and that it's clecoed tightly so it doesn't move. Once I got everything clecoed and tightly coupled, it was just a simple matter of flipping over to the back and match drilling those 8 extra holes in the back of the brackets. I went through and I clecoed like every other hole, and then took off and deburred to make sure for the first couple, just to make sure it wasn't a piece of aluminum or something keeping it from getting a clean seal. But yeah, it was really simple once I figured out exactly how those brackets were going to be used and what they were going to be used for. Very important piece, actually. It's how the whole thing attaches to the plane. So yeah, kind of important. And then at this point, I think I'm on to step 5, which is match drilling all the rest of the holes, except for 10 holes, which are indicated by the instructions on the outer wings of the front spar doubler. And here you can see the picture I just took. Also, I machine countersunk, by the way, in that previous step. And so on this picture, you can see all of the 9 holes on the face of each bracket. Cleco, there's 2 clecos holding them together, plus the 8 holes that are machine countersunk in the center of the front spar doubler. Next, it was a matter of going through and doing the 9 edge holes, again machining and then countersinking those 9 edge holes on either side of the front spar. Once that was done, I disassembled everything and got ready to prime. I had to take a good picture, and here it is, picture of everything getting ready to be primed. And then out I went, grabbing up all the stuff and getting it primed. And then through the magic of editing, doink, there it is primed. Yay! Now, normally that would have been ample work for a single day, but since this was Saturday and I had lots of time on my hands, it's time to rivet. So I went on to, this is 8-6 now, on to step 1 and 2, which is reassembling all the pieces and getting them riveted together. It's a daunting task when you first look at the riveting diagram, the number of rivets and the different types of rivets. It's like, whoa, you pretty much use every type and every length you can imagine. But, again, follow the instructions, and, the squeezer makes short work of it. And I'll show you a picture of that here shortly. Every once in a while you see me drilling again. It's because the paint still kind of clogs the holes ever so slightly. It's just a tiny amount. You know, if I didn't use any primer, which a lot of people say you don't have to use primer, I wouldn't have to re-drill because all the holes have already been drilled. But because it's now has that single sheen of paint in there, you have to drill it out a little bit. Here I flipped everything around and I final drilled all those holes again for the same reason I just said, because the paint. And then it's a matter of doing the other side's holes. And these are the machine countersunk edge holes that I'm doing here. And to take a picture of my work, here's what it looks like. Kind of amusing that even though there's a lot of very similar rivets, there's a lot of them that are different colors. I don't know why, but some of the rivets that are slightly different lengths will be different colors. I don't know, go figure. And here I'm preparing the in-spar ribs. So step 3 of 8-6 says to get 4 of the in-spar ribs and remove a portion of the top and bottom flanges which are marked on the plans, and that is correct. But it kind of implies that you'll only need 4. No, you'll need all 8 of them. You'll just cut 4 and then 2. And by that I mean 4 of them have 2 cuts, and then 2 of them have 2 more cuts. The other 4, which are presumably still on your shelf, which they were in my case, yeah, you'll need those too. It doesn't say that here, though. It actually says it in the next step to deburr all, but I glanced over that because I was just like, oh, all? You mean all 4 of them that I've been working with? Yeah, no. Once that's done, after deburring and cutting and getting those things ready, you'll need to get the nose ribs, and that's what I've done here is get out the nose ribs. These nose ribs, interestingly, they do not look like what they look like in the plans. It's important to note that because there are lightning holes now in the nose ribs, which were not in before, so you no longer need to cut for the trim cables. And there you also saw me rounding the front, and here I'm going through and deburring and cleaning them up. And that was pretty much it. By the end of the day, I was ready to go. You do have to do some bending of a couple of the different pieces, 9 degrees, but it's not terribly difficult, and I talk more about that in the post. Anyways, so there you go.